Tonight, in the book of Revelation, starting on chapter 7, verse by verse study. Last time we actually talked about in chapter 6 the seals being broken, and we went all the way out to seal number 6, and then starting in chapter 7, it actually breaks and skips seal number 7, and seal number 7 actually gets opened up in chapter number 8. So this book deals with the sealing of the 144,000. So let's get started here.
Revelation 7:1. And after these things I saw four angels standing on the four corners of the earth, holding the four winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea, nor on any tree.
So one of the things to look at here is the wind and the judgments are all earth-based. So it's not actually on people at this point, but it's on the earth, the sea, and the trees. So we have after this, so after what? So the last chapter, in chapter 6, we had the seals opening. So this would be what follows the opening of seal number 6, or actually the end of seal number. And I saw four angels. So I couldn't find any specific information on who these angels actually are, other than they are controlling the winds that blow across the earth. And at this point, they are holding the winds that it should not blow on the earth or on the sea or on any tree. The wind here is a picture of judgment. The angels are held back in the judgment of God until he has completed marking his saints with the seal of God. So this will become more plain as we go forward here.
And I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living God, and he cried with a loud voice to the four angels, to whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea.
So there's another angel comes on the scene, and it says, and I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living God. So the picture is that of an angel having the seal of the living God. So this could be Jesus himself, although it's not mentioned or who this angel's name is. The only reason I say that is only God would have the seal of God. You would give the seal to another angel, the seal of God to another angel.
But I wouldn't consider Jesus an angel either.
At times he is called an angel, and mainly in the Old Testament.
Okay.
The angel of the Lord, who Jesus would be. So
really?
He is, yeah.
I never really considered that. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I always thought like that was just an angel the Lord sent. I never really considered it to be.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is weird, but he is called the angel of the Lord.
Okay.
And a lot of them claim that the burning bush was actually Jesus when he appeared before Moses. And when it was Abraham, remember when the angel appeared on Abraham in the desert? A lot of people say that was actually Jesus at that point. I can't say thus saith the Lord because it doesn't have a name, but it makes sense. This is the angel. And he cried with a loud voice to the four angels to whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea. To the four angels mentioned in Revelation 7:1, commandment is issued in the next verse to stand down. Don't let judgment start on the earth at this moment. And again, I think the next verse, it actually goes into that a little bit deeper.
Saying, hurt not the earth, neither the sea, nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of God in their foreheads.
So we have saying, hurt not the earth, neither the sea, nor the trees. So the four angels that control the four winds are forbidden, or in this case would be the judgments, are forbidden to do their work of destruction until the seals of the servants have been accomplished. Till we have sealed the servants of God in their foreheads. A seal is a mark of ownership. You'll actually find that through the whole Bible. Even the servants of people were marked. A lot of times they would put a mark in their ear, put a hole in their ear when they belonged to somebody.
Yeah, wasn't it just like a bar? Wouldn't they put like a bar in?
I'm not sure exactly all what
or
the
was
mark.
It an earring?
I don't know. It could have been something, but it was something that the servant had that said, "Hey, this is a servant to whomever."
Yeah, but wasn't that if it was like permanent? A servant was married to like his master's other servant or something like that, and he was done with his servitude. I thought that if he didn't want to leave his wife or whatever, he could commit the rest of his life to his master.
Yeah.
But then didn't they put something in their ear then?
I'm not sure. It could be. I know what you're talking about, but I don't know specifics.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. So in this case, the seal of God on the forehead would mark those sealed of God. So God wants to reassure his people that he does not forget them during the difficult days when an ungodly world is preparing itself for judgment. God does not allow the winds of judgment to blow across the earth without thought for his people's security. He knows those are who are his, and he marks them. So before the judgment falls on the earth, God is going to mark his people. And you'll see who he's marking here very shortly. And there's some examples of this in Ezekiel 9:4. And the Lord said unto him, go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem, and set a mark upon the foreheads of the men, and that's men and women, that sigh and that cry for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof. And then also in Ezekiel 9:5, and unto the others he said, in my hearing, go ye after him through the city and smite, let not your eyes spare, neither have pity. So God again is marking people. Does anybody know of anybody else that was marked in the Bible? Back in Genesis?
I remember they marked the door.
They marked
but that was like what, Exodus or whatever.
Cain and Abel. Remember?
Yeah.
Cain killed Abel and God put a mark on Cain.
Yeah. Remember that.
So that's the first one I know. That's the first mark.
Okay, yeah,
It's talking here about the 144,000. It says the 144,000 are actual people living during the end time tribulation. Nothing in the passage leads to an interpreting that the 144,000 has anything but a literal number of Jews. There's 12,000 taken from every tribe of the children of Israel, according to verse 5 to 8. We'll get to that here very shortly. Those 144,000 Jews are sealed, which means they have special protection of God. They are kept safe from the divine judgments and from the wrath of the Antichrist. And again, as we go through this, it'll get more plain because this whole chapter is pretty much based on this.
You can read some of these here. You want me to read a couple or all of them?
No, you can read all of them if you want.
And I heard the number of them which were sealed, and they were sealed 144,000 of all the tribes of the children of Israel. Of the tribe of Judah were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Reuben were sealed 12,000. The tribe of Gad were sealed 12,000. The tribe of Asher were sealed 12,000. And of the tribe of Nephilim were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Manasseh were sealed 12,000. The tribe of Simeon were sealed 12,000. The tribe of Levi were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Issachar were sealed 12,000. And of the tribe of Zebulun were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Joseph were sealed 12,000. And of the tribe of Benjamin were sealed 12,000.
And so these are the 12 tribes of Israel. I just have a little footnote here. Where is the tribe of Dan?
Was that the one that was kicked out?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so the tribe of Dan, they went into the promised land, the land that God gave. He gave every tribe a section of land. And the land that they gave to the tribe of Dan didn't like the land. And they didn't use it. I think they went further north.
Okay.
So that's just a little tidbit. And you can look at Judges 17 and 21 if you want to read up on that.
After this I beheld, and a great multitude, which no man could number, of all nations and of all kindreds and people and tongues, stood before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed with white robes and palms in their hands.
After this I beheld, so after the vision of the sealing of the 144,000, John is told to shift his attention to a new scene that was unfolding. Lo, a great multitude which no man could number, indicates surprise. A vast host burst into view. Instead of the comparatively few who were sealed, an innumerable company were present in his vision. So the number was so great that no one could count them, and there's no indication that John even attempted to do. Of course, the Bible goes into details, says, and kingdoms and people and tongues stood before the throne and before the Lamb. So this is all the saints who were saved through Christ stood before the throne in heaven and before Jesus. I know there's some people who say this was just saints who were martyred. I don't think that's the case. I think this is all the saints through all time. Being the vast number, it almost makes sense that it's all of them. The interesting thing is, so if all the saints are standing before the throne and John sees them, that could possibly mean that if a person is saved, if you are saved,
he saw you.
John might have saw you standing before the throne of God.
Cool.
Isn't that pretty neat?
Yeah.
Now, again, I don't know if John could see individual faces or whatever. The division doesn't say
well,
so.
if there's that many, he probably couldn't see every single
but
face.
there had to be a front line, right?
Yeah.
Or a couple front lines. And then we get to white robes, and by this time we all know what white means. Victorious, held steady, the whole gambit of what white robes mean. And then palms in their hands, so that's a symbol of joy. The palm branch was used at the Feast of Tabernacles, at the Feast of Thanksgiving. Palms were used when Jesus rode in on the donkey. So it's one of those things that they did back then. Any questions so far?
No.
Because we're already up at verse 9 already. This is a short.
They cried with a loud voice, saying, Salvation to our God, which sitteth upon the throne, and unto the Lamb.
These are the great multitude in white robes that John saw, and they are being very expressive of greatness of their joy, saying salvation to our God, which sitteth upon the throne and unto the Lamb. So the praise of our salvation should be given to God and to the Lamb. So also take note that the Lamb, which is Jesus, is sharing praise equally with the Father. Oh, sorry, man, you got a little just see here. Actually, if you just read the top part where it says, and worship God, just stop.
Okay. And all the angels stood around about the throne, and about the elders and the four beasts, and fell before the throne on their faces, and worshipped God.
Okay. So in Revelation 5:11, since this is a short chapter, I would normally say we talked about all this before, but I actually have it broken out here. So all the angels stood around about the throne. So if you go back and look at Revelation 5:11, I beheld and I heard the voice of many angels round about the throne, and the beasts and the elders, and the number of them was 10,000 times 10,000s and thousands of thousands.
Yeah.
And then talks about the elders being around the throne, talks about them in Revelation 4:4. And around the throne were 24 seats, and upon the seats I saw 24 elders sitting, clothed in white raiment, and they had on their heads crowns of gold. And then the beasts are actually listed in Revelation 4:6. And before the throne there was a sea of glass like unto crystal, and in the midst of the throne and around the throne, round about the throne, were four beasts full of eyes before and behind. And we talked about that quite a bit as well. And we also talked about what the sea of glass represented. Fell before the throne on their face and worshiped God. So this is found in Revelation 4:10. And the 24 elders fell down before him that sat on the throne and worshiped him that liveth forever and ever, and cast their crowns before the throne, saying. And then also in Revelation 5:8, and when he had taken the book, the four beasts and the 24 elders fell down before the Lamb, having every one of them harps and golden vials full of odors, which are the prayers of the saints. That just goes out and just lists a few more times when this same thing is happening that we already had talked about.
Saying amen, blessing and glory and wisdom and thanksgiving, and honor and power and might be unto our God forever and ever. Amen.
In chapter 5, the elders, the four living creatures, the angels about the throne, and every creature joined in the praises. Here again, all are, and the angels worship and join in praising God for the blessed scene which they have just beheld, and all are in total agreement. So they are all speaking together as one group of people. And of course, this would be the sealing of the 144,000. Is still what we're talking about here.
And one of the elders answered, saying unto me, What are these which are arrayed in the white robes, and whence came they?
And one of the elders, remember there's 24, answered, saying unto me, What are these which are arrayed in white robes? So John's attention was again turned to the great multitude, which no man could number, mentioned in Revelation 7:9. And whence came they? So John is asked, where the great multitude that stood before him, where did they come from?
And I said unto him, Sir, thou knowest. And he said to me, These are they which came out of the great tribulation, and have washed their robes, and made them white in the blood of the Lamb.
So John is asked a question from one of the elders, and instead of John answering it, he turns it back on the elder. So it says, and I said unto him, Sir, thou knowest. So John confessed that he did not know and redirected the question back to the elder who asked him. He said unto me, these are they which came out of great tribulation. So since this multitude is all of the elect of God that ever were, are, or will be in the world, the great tribulation out of which they came is not to be restrained to any particular time of trouble, but includes all that has been, is, or will be, and all the afflictions of the saints under the Old and New Testament. The great tribulation we haven't gotten to yet, so this would actually be, this scene is actually unfolding before the great tribulation happens. The great tribulation, if I remember correctly, starts in around chapter 10, is where the great tribulation starts. And the great tribulation starts with the Antichrist defiling the temple. The abomination of desolation, that starts the great tribulation. So they're not talking about the great tribulation in this sense there. And have washed their robes and made them white in the blood of the Lamb. It's not in the blood of bulls and goats, which cannot take away sin, nor in their own blood their suffering for Christ, on which they did not depend, knowing there is no comparison between them, and the glory revealed in them, nor in any works of righteousness done by them, which are imperfect and filthy, and need washing, but in the blood of Christ, which cleanses from all sins. So I don't know about that sentence. It seems to be very disjointed. I must have done that very late at night. But basically means is that they washed their robes in the blood of the Lamb, and that is the only thing that actually brought them salvation, not anything that they did of themselves. This is actually brought out very clear in Ephesians 2:8 and 2:9. It says, for by grace are ye saved through faith, and that not of yourselves. It is the gift of God, not of works, lest any man should boast. And then Revelation 7:15, therefore are they before the throne of God, and serve him day and night in his temple, and he that sitteth on the throne shall dwell among them. And then breaking down this verse by sentence, it says, therefore are they before the throne of God, not because of their great tribulation, but because they were brought through them and out of them by the grace and power of God, because these were washed and made white in the blood of the Lamb. Serve him day and night in his temple. So continuously or constantly, day and night constitutes the whole of time. And in this expression, denotes constant and uninterrupted service. On earth, toil was suspended by the return of night, and the service of God is intermittently by the, I don't know where this sentence came from either, by the necessary rest in heaven, as there will be no weariness. So basically, day and night, 24-hour period with no stopping. These are the saints worshiping God. He that sitteth on the throne shall dwell among them. Or the tabernacle over them, the tabernacle of God will be now among men, and he will dwell among the saints, and they shall enjoy his presence and have the utmost communion with him. This is talked about more in Revelation 21:3. And I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, behold, the tabernacle of God is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people, and God himself shall be with them and be their God. So there's going to be, when the temple comes out of, the new Jerusalem comes down out of heaven, there will be a temple, and God will dwell in that temple with men. That will be on the new earth, not the earth, this current earth, but the new earth. When we get to that point, I'll talk about there's no gates in the city. There's no night at all as well. There's no sun, but there's also no night, no sun, no night. And we'll get into that a little bit more often. But this is just basically just giving you a hint of that. No, God will be the light.
Oh, okay.
It's interesting that if you look at the creation of the earth back in the beginning of Genesis, that there was actually light before the sun was created. If we actually look at how it's made. And then in the end, there's also light without the sun.
Okay.
Yeah, you could go back and read
Yeah, maybe I just never caught it and stuff.
Yeah, you have to read how it went through day 1, day 2, day.
I know he said let there be light, but then I'm trying to think, was that when he created the sun and the moon, or was it before?
The stars and the heavens were created day 4. I don't know.
Chronologically, like how?
Yeah, you'd have to go read it. I can't remember.
I can't remember either. You read it like 10,000 times and you probably.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you haven't read it for a little while, it gets, at least for me, it gets fuzzy.
They shall hunger no more, neither thirst any more, neither shall the sun light on them, nor any heat.
Well, there you go. Sometimes if I just wait, it's in the next verse. And they shall hunger no more, neither thirst any more. So these words are taken right out of Isaiah 49:10, and will be true in a literal and corporal sense. Now the saints are often in hunger and thirst. Actually, obviously when they're in heaven, they will be hungry and thirsty no more. And this is speaking of the restoration of Israel. So Isaiah 49:10 says, "They shall not hunger nor thirst, neither shall the heat nor sun smite them. For he that hath mercy on them shall lead them, even by the springs of water shall he guide them." And again, we had talked about the springs of living water back when we talked about the water that came out of the throne room of God. Neither shall the sun light on them, nor any heat. So not the sun or heat of persecution, and the heat of Satan's temptations, or his fiery darts, or sore afflictions, or toil and labor, called the burden and the heat of the day, for all which they will be now freed up. And then we have the parable of the sower in Matthew 13:6. And when the sun was up, they were scorched, and because they had no root, they withered away. So that's just basically talking about the heat of the sun, or the heat of persecution.
For the Lamb which is in the midst of the throne shall feed them, and shall lead them unto the living fountains of water, and God shall wipe away all the tears from their eyes.
So for the Lamb which is in the midst of the throne, so at this point we all know who the Lamb is. The Lamb is Jesus, which is in the midst of the throne, shall feed them. So Jesus will feed his flock as a shepherd provides for his flock. For this Lamb is a shepherd, and his great multitude are his flock. And that's all over, especially in the New Testament, talks about the flock and the sheep following Jesus. And shall lead them unto living fountains of water. So by water, it means the grace, love, and favor of God in Christ, the pure river of water of life, which proceeds out of the throne of God and of the Lamb. And they will never thirst anymore. So this is said to be living, because not only refreshing and reviving, but because it will last forever. The love of God is from everlasting to everlasting, and it is signified by fountains to denote the abundance of it, even as it will be perceived and enjoyable by the saints now. So these waters will not only be to the ankles and knees, but a broad river to swim in, which cannot be passed over.
If you enjoyed the contents of this video, please hit the subscribe button to see more content like this in the future. Also, select the bell icon to be notified of new content when it is made available. In the meantime, keep looking up.